What's going on, everyone? We're live. Welcome to the SB Fantasy Football Podcast, where, gosh darn it, we try hard. As always, guys, I'm your host, Alan, here for a little Saturday Night Live. Super late tonight. Just been one of those days. What can I say? Kids, dream crushers. That's what they're here for. They crush all your hopes and dreams and just demolish it all and just flush it down the toilet. But that's beside the fact. Let's talk fantasy football. Let's get into some news, some notes. Justin Fields is going to be back. So the Jets got that going for them. I think it's definitely better than Tyrod Taylor. Uh, Baker should be good to go. Chris Godwin's expected to play, which is good because Mike Evans is going to be out. Man, we've had a cavalcade, just a cavalcade of injuries here as of late. They've just been snowballing and just effing everyone's life up. That's just no other way to put it. It's just screwing everything up. But hey, we'll figure it out. We'll work through them. Jane Daniels is out again. Um, who knows how long he's actually going to be? He's going to be out. JJ McCarthy's still out. I do like Carson Wentz over there. Mr. Lopez, how are we doing, sir? How are we doing? I hope we're doing good. Here a little bit later than normal. Kids, what can I say? Um, Kiddo had to wash her softball pants and decided to leave the gum in them. And I don't know if you've ever had clothes washed with gum in the washing machine, but it's not good. Lizzie, what is going on? How are we doing? Hope you're doing well. How are we doing? How's everyone doing? We got questions? Start, sit. What are we doing? Justin Fields is back. Baker should be good to go. Godwin's supposed to be back, which the Bucs are going to need him. I like Ibuka. Looking at lineups, there we go. Yeah, we got to look at lineups. We got to figure things out. Look at matchups. Just I don't know. Just get it all situated, right? Look at games. Talk about matchups that we like. We've got early games. So if you have anyone with the Vikings or the Steelers, remember that game's at 8:30 in the morning Central Time tomorrow. They're playing out there in Dublin, Ireland. So if you want to wake up early tomorrow, yeah, we got early games. We got 8:30 in the morning game tomorrow. You can wake up early, catch that, and catch 4 games tomorrow. Which isn't that the dream, right? 4 football games back to back to back to back. I mean, you can't complain about that type of stuff, right? But we've got, like I said, we got the Steelers and the Vikings playing. And then I think the next 3 games for the Vikings are all overseas. I think they got a London game, they got that Germany game, and then they've got one other somewhere else. Let's see here. Can I pull it up and see? Let's look at the Vikings schedule. Because they got 8:30 and they're 8:30 next week, and then noon the week after that. So yeah, I guess it's just the next 2 weeks that the Vikings are playing overseas, which is going to be, we got to make sure when we get these slates of games that we've got for the next several weeks, you got to make sure you get all your stuff set on Saturday night. And don't forget about those early games. Um, Although I'm not a big fan of playing the players there. Jay's in the house. Keenan Allen, Drake London, Olave, AJ Brown, Pickens, start 2. AJ Brown looked good last week. We got to look at matchups, right? Keenan Allen's looked like a man on fire here lately. The Chargers are playing the Giants. I mean, you got to love that matchup, right? We absolutely have to love that matchup. I know what's going on in London's town. No, we're not dealing with any injuries. They're playing Washington. Um, Washington gives up the 8th most points. Now, Penix looked really bad last week. Olave, I mean, I want more for Olave instead of just being stuck with Spencer Rattler, right? And they're playing Buffalo, so I don't necessarily like Olave at all. Um, his target shares there 13, 10, 14, but he can't get past 50 yards. 7 for 54, 6 for 54, 10 for 57. It's all dinks and dunks, and we're not getting much out of it. Um, Not excited about that. Uh, Pickens against the Packers, I think they're just going to, and the Cowboys have offensive line issues and problems. I'm not really excited about that at all. Um, who do the Eagles have? And the Eagles have Tampa, and I expect that game to be a shootout. I honestly do. Um, 10 targets last week, 6 catches, 109 yards, and a tutty. He had 5 for 27 the week before. Then, of course, the 1 for 8 in week 1. I'm definitely going Keenan Allen. And then I want to say A.J. Brown or Pickens. I mean, CD not being there definitely hurts, right? 3 catches for 35 for 68 and a touchdown. Last week, 5 for 68 and a touchdown. Um, the Packers just don't give up points, but someone's got to catch the ball there. Maybe a bunch of garbage time, maybe a garbage time TD, you know? And garbage time still counts, you know? There's nothing wrong with. So let's go Keenan Allen and George Pickens. That's one I'm gonna go. I love the matchup for Keenan Allen against the Giants. Um, and he's looked good. I think he might have fallen off a little bit this week. I mean, he's sitting at 56 points already this year. Yeah, I had 7 for 65. He's got a touchdown all 3 weeks. The Giants give up the third most points. I mean, you got to love the matchup there, Jay. Let's go Keenan Allen and George Pickens. And George Pickens is garbage time or bust. Right? It's going to be all garbage time, I think. You might get a lot. I think we might get a lot of catches. We should get a touch. We should get a touchdown out of it. I just AJ Brown. I like him. I think it's a little bit of a tougher matchup. When the Eagles are at their best, they're running the ball. We're not getting a ton out of him. Olave is he's just stuck in fantasy hell with Spencer Rattler there. Drake London, yeah. I'm 0-3 and desperate for a dub. Well, we're getting a dub this week, Jay. We're getting it. We're getting it. 0-3 is not bad. You don't have to worry. Even 0-4, you're still good. We should go past 0-4. Then we start to have some problems. But let's get that dub this week. I think Keenan Allen and George Pickens are your guys to get it. I don't know. Penix was non-existent last week. He's had one big week. And again, I'm not super excited. I mean, they're not lights out, but and I mean, you're looking at London 8 for 55, 3 for 49, and 5 for 55. So he hasn't been great. He hasn't been the Drake London that we had last year and that we expected this year. If I get this stuff, thank you. Which one? Do I get to pick which one, Jay? Because I know you've got them all. You treat STDs like Pokemon. You catch them all. So if I get to pick, deal and a half. I'm so in. I'm so in on it. But yeah, there's just we gotta get past all mix and match if you'd like. I would love it. Um, some matchups this week. Again, you got the Vikings and the Steelers. I think the Vikings, your players over there. Jordan Mason is a must start. With no Aaron Jones there, Jordan Mason is been the guy. Justin Jefferson's better with Carson Wentz there. Let's just be honest. We got Jordan Addison is back this week, if I'm not mistaken. Now I'm not going to play him week 1. Yeah, he's back. So he's ready to play. Now, like I said, I don't necessarily want to start him right now, but I'll start him here in a week or two. Let him get his legs under him, get his sea legs going. But I definitely enjoy the fact that Jordan Addison is back, and I think Jordan Addison being back helps Justin Jefferson. It helps Justin Jefferson. It helped T.J. Hockenson looked great last week with Carson Wentz back there. So yeah, let's do that. Aaron Rodgers, I mean, he's just talking about drinking Guinness out there in Ireland. They are 2-1. DK Metcalf has been pretty decent with him. Caleb Johnson has just been a huge bust there. Expected a lot more out of him, and we're just getting a bag of nothing. You can't play him. You just can't play the kid. Commanders and Falcons. Mariota wasn't awful last week. He was actually pretty decent. Decent matchup this week against the Falcons, who have just looked bad. I mean, they ended up benching Penix at the end of the game, just because they said the game was out of reach. That he's not in danger of losing his job to Kirk Cousins. But if you keep playing like that and you got old Kirko 2 Chains there, eventually he's going to take your girl. That's all there is to it. And he's healthy now. He wasn't healthy last year. I think that played a lot into the role of, Kirk Cousins not being what we kind of expected him to be there, is all the injuries. But for right now, and I mean, Bijan's been all right, 47 carries for 239 yards this year. He's had another 14 catches for 164 yards and a touchdown. He actually leads the Falcons in receiving, which is a problem. That's a big problem. Unless you own Bijan, then you love it, right? But Drake London should be leading this team in receiving, and he's not. Kyle Pitts is still Kyle Pitts. Let's just put it that way. He's gotten you 28 points in 3 weeks. 7 for 59, 4 for 37, 4 for 39. It's just abysmal. Not what it just has never lived up to his potential. Saints and Bills. I mean, we obviously love the Bills here. We love Josh Allen. We love James Cook. Juwan Johnson is been really great. He leads the Saints in receiving with 19 catches for 176 yards. He's one of those guys who's going to get you a ton of catches. Okay on the yards. And hopefully, like last week, we got a touchdown from him, right? So we want to try and, hopefully keep our fingers crossed for a touchdown. But he's going to catch you a lot of passes, and kind of get you kind of middle of the road yards. But for a tight end, it's great, right? We're playing everybody for the Bills. You might even want to play, if you're in a deep league, like a Ray Davis or something like that, because I think he might ends up getting in later in the game. You got the Browns traveling to Detroit. I love everybody with Detroit. Jared Goff, Demo, St. Brown, Gibbs. The Browns have just kind of left you with a bad taste in your mouth. Quinshon Judkins has become a must play for them. He's quickly taken over that backfield. Everyone has forgotten about Dylan Sampson, who was the darling of the preseason. Jerome Ford, right? It's been Quinshon Judkins since he's come in, and he's just completely dominated the carries and the shares there. So he's the running back that you're playing there. Although I don't know that I necessarily want to play him against Detroit, who was completely, held the Ravens under 100 yards receiving last week, which is huge with Derrick Henry and Lamar and all that. Panthers and Patriots. Xavier Leggett's out, so T-Mac has to do something, right? MV Pitts, whatever, Michael. Put respect in this. I've given him all the respect that is due. With all due respect, you suck. That's There you go. I said with all due respect. So, yeah. Ugh, ugh. Panthers and Patriots. Drake May's been all right. 785 yards, 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. T Mac, you've got 14 catches for 216 yards. Chuba Hubbard, 43 carries for 168 yards in 3 games. I mean, you're not getting a lot out of these guys. You're hoping for a little bit more out of Drake May. The Panthers played some decent defense last week, but now the Chargers and the Giants, I like Omarion Hampton this week. Justin Herbert, obviously, he's been great this year. Keenan Allen's been really good. Even Quentin Johnston's been good, which is insane to say that Quentin Johnston is a viable fantasy option, right? Now, is he going to be able to keep this going? I don't know. Nobody knows. He doesn't even know. But I mean, he's gotten you 57 points essentially in 3 weeks. 5 for 79 and 2 touchdowns, 3 for 71 and a touchdown. Last week, 6 for 89, but you're going up against the Giants this week. You give the third most yards to receivers. We already talked about it. We love Keenan Allen. We love Ladd McConkey. We like Quentin Johnston. Full PPR need to London, McConkey, or Pickens. I'm going to go McConkey. I was just talking about the Chargers right now, the Chargers and the Giants. I like Ladd McConkey against that Giants defense. It gives up the third most amount of points to wide receivers. Look for McConkey to have a big game this week. London, I'm just nervous about him. It's been Bijan leads that team in receiving right now, and it should be London, and it hasn't been. And Michael Penix hasn't been great. He hasn't been good. Pickens, he's the guy there. Especially if you're full PPR. I'm looking for Pickens to have a pretty good game. A lot of garbage time stuff. I expect the Packers just to kind of have their way with the Cowboys. And Matthew Golden is a guy that I love this week. I think Matthew Golden actually does something. So if you're if you're still holding on to Matthew Golden, play him this week because I think Matthew Golden's going to have a really good game. Or if you need some help receiving wise with all the injuries that have happened, a player to stream and play this week is Matthew Golden against that Cowboys defense, which is the worst against the pass. You saw what they made Caleb Williams look like a future Hall of Famer. They made Russell Wilson look better than he's ever looked in his entire life. Even in his prime, he never threw the ball like that. So yeah, I love Golden, but I think the Packers go up big, so you get a lot of garbage time with Pickens. A lot of points for the PPR. Maybe you get a fourth quarter touchdown when they're down by like 21 points, right? Where they're just they're playing, prevent defense. So I'm looking for McConkey to have a good game and Pickens to have a good game this week. London, he's on my shit list right now, right? Now, last time I threw someone on my shit list, Mark Andrews, he went off last week, right? But London's on my shit list this week. We just haven't gotten out of him what we expect to get out of him this year. But I don't think all of that is necessarily his fault. I think some of that falls on Penix's in his hands, as he just hasn't been that good this year. You saw him play pretty good last year at the end of the year, especially with London, but you just haven't seen it this year. So give me McConkey and give me Pickens in that matchup. So, and no problem, man. No problem. Yeah, hey, dude, me too. We had 4 games today. And then I had to go run and do a little bit of work, and then I get home and I go to move the kiddos' clothes into the dryer, and pants are ruined. So now I'm supposed to I got to drop her off at the fields at like 7:30 tomorrow morning, and then I got to go to Academy and get her a new pair of freaking pants because we can't find the other pants anywhere. She has no idea where the hell they are, and the other pair is ruined right now. So it's like, you know what? You're a jerk, kid. So, but whatever. Let's see here. What matchup are we talking about? Yeah, but Chargers and the Giants. It's well, like going. I'm excited to see what happens with Jackson Dart. I didn't think they were going to make the move this early, especially playing against the Chargers. Like I feel like this would have been a move better made a little bit later in the season when you don't have such a tough matchup for that first week. But hey, let's throw the kid out there. Let's see what he's got. Um, dude, when you wash clothes with gum, they're destroyed. They don't make it to the dryer. They're destroyed before they even get there. Because this is the second time in a month and a half or 2 months that this kid has washed clothes with gum in it. Thank God this time it was just her softball pants and a pair of socks, and she didn't wash like her uniform that she wore today. Um, but yeah, just they're ruined when they go through the washer. She did it with her school uniform, and that stuff was expensive. So I was up all night with alcohol, rubbing alcohol. That's how you get gum off of things. But there was a lot more gum in her back pocket, and the pants. They're just destroyed. That's all there is to it. They're just forever ruined, forever unclean. Jerks. Um, I'm excited to see what goes on with Jackson Dart, Malik Neighbors. Neighbors needs someone there to throw him the ball. Like it's just all there is to it. Time for the Jackson Dart era. I would have loved to have seen Jameis first before we go to. I was actually surprised that they. You know what? I love the signing of Jameis Winston by the Giants. I hated the signing of Russell Wilson. Like, why do you sign Russell Wilson when you have Jameis Winston and you're planning on drafting a quarterback? I didn't understand that. I didn't think it was going to work. And here we are after 3 weeks, done. Jackson Dart's in. But now once you put Dart out there, you're stuck with Dart for the rest of the season. And this is Brian Daboll trying to save his job. But let's be honest. I mean, you can go back and you can look. Everyone's pulling up interviews with Malik Neighbors last year. And Malik Neighbors is telling everyone, hey, look, it's not the quarterback. The quarterback's not the problem here. It's not Daniel Jones. It's not whoever else you put out here. It's not them. It's this coaching staff. But he never said it's the coaching staff. He just said it's not the quarterback. And they're like, is it the coaching staff? Is it the play calling? And he would just say it's not the quarterback. And then you see Danny Dimes doing what he's doing this year. And you're like, obviously, well, holy crap, right? I love Danny Dimes this year. I loved him going into the season. I thought he was going to put up a good season. I knew he was going to beat out AR for the starting job. He's definitely performing better than I thought he would, but I thought he was going to have a really good season. And I had the Colts as a playoff team going into the season with him as the quarterback. And so far, they're arguably one of the best teams in the league. So we'll see if he can keep it up, or are we getting Derek Carr from last year, right? Through 3 weeks, the Saints looked like they were going to be unstoppable, and Derek Carr was just a man on fire. And then it was just all downhill from there. I need them to get the one ball. Let's see here. Eagles and Buccaneers. I mean, you got to like Saquon, right? Baker says he's good to go. Emeka Egbuka, we love him. Chris Godwin's supposed to play. We'll see what we get out of him this week. I think this might actually be a game where you might get something out of Cade Otton, the tight end out there, like possibly look for a touchdown this week. With no Mike Evans, Otton is shown to be a guy that from time to time can get some stuff done. You haven't seen anything out of him so far this year, but he's getting a huge snap share. He's just, nothing last week at all. Week 2, 3 catches for 25 yards. No catches in week 1. Philly is tough, but again, you don't have a Mike Evans there. I'm not saying play him in your regular leagues, but what I'm saying is like maybe you can as a cheap tight end option in DFS. I like a Cade Otton this week. Hopefully Godwin can be pretty good. Maybe McMillan has a good week this week. Finally, we've been expecting him to step up and do something for the last couple seasons, and we haven't gotten anything out of him. But Ibuka, we're going to see what he can do without Mike Evans, stealing some attention. Philly's going to be tough, but it's typically a higher scoring game, and you got Baker back there, and Baker's been great. I absolutely love Baker. Baker's just always a must play for me. I'm playing him again this week in my leagues. So then you got the battle of the 0-3 teams, the Titans and the Texans. CJ Stroud has just been meh. Nico Collins, okay, 14 catches for 181 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's been okay. Look for the Texans to step up and have a big game this week. They need to, frankly. I don't like the running backs out there. Chubb's been meh. Woody Marks, maybe. I mean, they're definitely missing Mixon, but who knows if Mixon even comes back, right? They definitely need him to. You think Godwin's going to produce right away or need a little time? He's kind of in a situation where they need him to produce right away. Like, I think he has a decent game out of necessity because Mike Evans isn't there. And so he's being forced. I don't know if I'm not going to say he's being forced to play, right? But I also don't think Chris Godwin's the same guy that he was, right? Coming off a big injury, these players aren't the same as they are that first year. It'd be next year before he's really back, but he's also older too, right? So a little bit harder to recover. But I think he kind of needs to have a game out of necessity. If the Bucs are going to compete, they need Chris Godwin to step up because they need someone there to fill the shoes of Mike Evans. So I think Godwin has a decent game. I don't know if he's going to get in the end zone. They really need him to, but I really expect Baker to look at Ibuka in the red zone and possibly Cade Otton. Again, it's a guy like look for Bucky Irving and White to have big games. I think White needs to have a big game receiving. Again, they've got to replace that. Although Mike Evans' production hasn't been great, but it's his other stuff that he does, right? He's drawing a lot of attention on him, and that's helping these other guys to be open. So they're really going to need Bucky Irving. They're really going to need White to have big games this week. I think over the last couple of weeks they've shown that you could possibly play a Bucky Irving and a White, both for sure. Looked out and got him on waivers, but I got a Ibuka also. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I'm playing them both. Like, I want to have better options than Godwin. Godwin's a guy that I'll probably throw in a DFS lineup because he's probably really cheap. But I'm hoping that I've got better options. Like, if Godwin is a guy that I'm like, okay, I'm gonna play Godwin. I've got a lot of problems. I had CeeDee Lamb and I had Mike Evans. Right? I've got a couple guys that are out right now, which is a horrible place to be. But I don't know that he does. Again, I don't know that he does it. I think he has a decent game, but not the game that we would like him to have. Not a typical Chris Godwin game, because again, it's his first game back. I don't know. I haven't seen anything about him possibly. Is he going to be on a snap count or anything? Let's take a look. I mean, he's still kind of listed as questionable, but they do expect him to play. And he's dealing with an ankle. I want to hope I have somebody better to play. Start Purdy, Geno, or Mariota 6-point passing TD. Who's Vegas playing? 49ers and Jags. Okay. Vegas is playing the Bears. The Bears haven't been really good. And Washington is playing the Falcons. I kind of like Mariota. Here's what I like about Mariota. I think you get a rushing TD in there too. Definitely a positive getting 6 points per passing TDs, right? But if you got a guy who can also will run the ball, Mariota looked pretty decent last week. Geno, let me look at Geno's numbers real quick. The Bears are. I mean, the Bears give up the third most points, the quarterbacks. Geno had a pretty good week last week against Washington, 289, 3 touchdowns, 2-point conversion. The week before he had, he's just been inconsistent. Part of the problem with looking at Chicago's numbers for what they've done so far this year is you got to factor in that Detroit game where Jared Goff just went ham and just went off. At Purdy, I'm nervous about him coming back from the injury. I actually kind of expected him to be out another week. He's completely off the injury report. Jacksonville's kind of middle of the road. Give me Mariota. Give me Mariota there, and it's close. But I think you're going to get passing and a rushing TD from him. So yeah, for me, it's pretty close. I don't trust Geno yet there in Vegas. He's had a big week. Outside of that, the other 2 weeks were meh. Purdy coming off the injury. Again, he has no injury designation going in, but I am nervous about him still. Give me Mariota. Hey, half PPR league. I just traded away Keenan and Buka and Scadaboo for Amon-Ra and Rashid White. Okay. My wide receivers are MHJ and JMO running. So you've got Amon-Ra and JMO. Okay. RBs are Derrick Henry, A-Chain, and Hampton. Did I do bad things, bro? He gave up a lot. I love Amon-Ra. Absolutely love him. I think he's arguably he's a top 3 wide receiver in the league. He's probably got the best hands in the league. He's in a great situation. I expect him to have a monster year this year. Rashid White, we were kind of nervous about him going into the season. I think the last couple of weeks have shown that they might be able to sustain 2 RBs again, just kind of like they did last year. You've already got Derrick Henry and A-Chain and Hampton, so you have White as a 4th. Yeah, MHJ and JMO, and then Amon-Ra. I really like Keenan Allen. Now, can Keenan Allen keep up the pace that he's on? No, he's not going to score a touchdown every single week. But I think he's going to have a real good year. I really like Ibuka. I really do. I think when all is said and done, I think he ends up being the wide receiver number 1 there in Tampa this year, which could put him in the top 10 possibly. And Scadaboo, I don't know. Tyrone Tracy's out for the next couple weeks, 2 to 4 weeks. So we'll really see what Scadaboo has here for the next few weeks. I think you gave up a lot because I think you got in Keenan and Ibuka. I think you got 2 really good wide receivers there. I love getting Amon-Ra, but you also have JMO. So you got to hope they both. Now last year they were the only teammates that both had over 1,000 yards receiving. And I expect JMO to have a little bit of a better season this year than he did last year, which is crazy, right? But you also expect at some point in time Isaac Tesla to really step in and start picking up and carrying a little bit of weight. That one's tough, man. Again, I love getting Amon-Ra. A-Chain, I love Derrick Henry. I do love, although he's fumbled every game this year. I think Hampton will start to do what we kind of thought he would. How many wide receivers are you playing? Marvin Harrison, who knows? I mean, he got that late TD, but outside of that, he's just been kind of meh. Um, Two, so you're playing Amon-Ra. I mean, some weeks you're going to play Amon-Ra and JMO, right? Uh, Depending on the matchups, like especially like when they play the Cowboys, I would definitely play Amon-Ra and JMO both that week. I expect JMO to have a 60-yard plus touchdown easily, like probably in the first quarter. JMO might get you close to 200 yards with like 3 catches. Like the Cowboys just don't know how to. They're just awful, especially receiving wise or defending the pass. Um, yeah, I right now my gut says you gave up a lot, but we'll see at the end of the season. I think a lot of that has to depend on what Scadaboo does. Um, Again, I think he might end up. He's got to, but I mean, Kyler looked awful the first 3 quarters of that game this last week. Kyler's got to step up and at some point in time do his part. But traditionally, Kyler just gets worse as the season goes on. But yeah, no, Marvin Harrison, he's got to step up. I mean, if he works out, you could end up all right. You could end up all right. And then, like I said, we just got to see what happens with Scadaboo. Can he stay healthy all year playing football the way that he does? Yeah, I was kind of talking to some guys this last week, and he kind of reminds me of like a Peyton Hillis type player. You know, just a big bowling ball that just plows guys over, which works out great for a couple of years, and then you're done, right? Yeah, kind of expect Scadaboo to have a short career. You know, we're looking at playing the way he does, 3 to 5 years. You know, you can't continue to take a beating like that. You can do that. You can get away with that in college, but you can't get away with it in the pros because the guys are big. We'll see in this. Yeah, you know, if Scadaboo can't stay healthy and can't do it, you definitely, yeah. When we come to Detroit, okay, Michael, it ain't gonna work out for your Cowboys, buddy. Let's see here. I just felt like I wouldn't get an opportunity at a top 3 wide receiver. The stock of all 3 I gave up were so high, so I felt like I should cash in. Yeah, I mean, again, you, a lot of it just has to do with, do we expect Keenan Allen to do what he's doing all year? He's playing great right now. He's back with his buddy Herbert, right? But Keenan Allen's old. He's just old. Old guys break down. Um, so if there's a lot of what ifs in there, right? Again, yes, getting a top 3 wide receiver in Amon-Ra, awesome. Um, it's on the fence. I'll say that. I think that trade's on the fence. Um, I think there's Ibuka's a guy that, again, I think Ibuka can end up as a top 10 wide receiver this year. Um, just with what he's done so far, and now you've got Mike Evans out. So let's see what he does with Mike Evans out. Our team's able to shut him down now. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. Maybe the cream just kind of rises to the top with him. I had high expectations for him going into the season. I think I drafted him in pretty much every single one of my years. I don't know why people are going bonkers for him. It's the touchdowns and the target share. It's 100%, and it's the potential. Hold on. I mean, he's got you. He's 4 for 67, 2 touchdowns, 4 for 29 touchdowns, 6 for 85. Um, you've got some decent matchups coming up. He's in a high-powered offense. Again, I'm speaking on potential, right? But this is a guy that I bought into heavily going into this season. Like I said, I'm pretty sure I drafted him in like every single one of my leagues. He might have gotten away from me in like 1 or 2, but for the most part, I have him in all of my leagues. He's just a really good receiver in a high-powered offense. And again, now I think Mike Evans not being there, going to be out for a while. It's either going to help him or it's going to hurt him. We're going to see how we're going to learn how good he is in these next few weeks. Ain't no problem, Matt. Again, I'm a Detroit guy. Yeah, I got a Detroit bottle opener right here. Right, I'm a huge Lions fan. I love getting him on Raw. Absolutely love getting him on Raw, and I think he's gonna just the he's probably gonna finish top 3 this year. And like you said, you had the opportunity to get a top 3 guy. You got J-Mo there. Maybe Marvin Harrison Jr. Right. We need Kyler to step up and do his part. You're set running back wise. You know, Rashid White just adds a little bit more depth for your roster. So we'll see. You like Hampton or Judkins over Tootin, Swift, or Monty? Michael, I never liked Swift. Swift isn't good. He's not that guy. I'm out on Swift, 100%. I love all of those guys more than Swift, and I can name you probably about 20 more guys I love more than Swift without even thinking hard about it. I love Monty. Monty's a TD. He's a TD magnet. He showed everyone last week that everyone was writing him off this year. They're like, oh, it's Gibbs. No, it's both of them. That's how that system works. That's how Detroit does so well, is it's both of those guys. Each guy gets a turn. Neither one of them get exhausted because they're playing pretty much every other series, right? I love Monty. He's going to get you another touchdown this week. Tell the guy in my league to trade me. I like Hampton. I really need him to step up now. You know, not that Najee Harris was taking a lot away from him, but now you don't have Najee there. They really need him to step up. And I like Judkins has looked good so far. He's 100% taken over. Tootin, I'm still on the fence on. Because you still got ETN there, and he'll bust out a game every once in a while. With him, he's a shared backfield. Hampton and Judkins, they're the workhorses there. Monty is a split backfield, but it's a split backfield in a high-powered offense. Like, honestly, like, you could draft and play both Gibbs and Monty and be good. I like Monty. I don't like Swift. Probably my favorites there this week. If we're just talking this week, I love Hampton. I love Monty. Judkins up against that Detroit defense. I don't know. They've been really good against the run so far. Tootin. Who are the Jags playing again? The 49ers. It's a little bit of a tougher matchup. Matt, honestly, I kind of think Hampton is a phony, but he's in a great offense and literally no one behind him. Hampton is just not a great RB and isn't super athletic. I hope I'm wrong because I have him. I mean, so far, but he's also young, right? Rookie, 3 touchdowns like AW9 last year. The jury's still out on Hampton, right? He needs to do something, and now's the time to do it because there's literally, like you said, there's nobody behind him now. Now, is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? You know, some guys need someone behind them to push them. Some guys do better when you take that guy away from them because it feels like, oh, you believe in me so much that now you've got this guy. Hampton's a guy that I don't know that I would necessarily would give up on at any point in time this year, right? No, Michael. But I mean, with you, like depending on how many RBs you're playing, you're never benching Derrick Henry, right? We're just not doing it. We'll bench Derrick Henry if he gets hurt, right? But other than that, if Derrick Henry's playing, you're playing him. That's all there is to it. A-Chain, as long as Tua is there, you're playing him. If Tua goes out, then you got to see what happens with Quinn Ewers. But last year, without Tua, A-Chain was unplayable. Absolutely unplayable without Tua in that lineup. And Tua hasn't played great this year, but just Tua there just helps A-Chain play better. But I'm not going to bench A-Chain, and I'm not going to bench Henry. So Hampton is kind of the third guy, right? Possibly a flex option, right? Depending on matchups with your receivers and all of that. But Hampton's a guy you want to see step up and play better for sure. I feel like he's definitely underperformed for expectations, especially because he's been the guy. Again, Najee wasn't taking a lot away from him, but they're just not running the ball that well. But also, they're passing the ball really, really well. And if that trend does continue, though, I really feel like that opens up a lot in the run game for Hampton. Can Justin Herbert keep this up? If so, Herbert's going to be a top 5 QB easily, arguably top 3 fantasy by the end of the year. And that should, again, open up more things for Mari Hampton and the run game. Harbaugh wants to run the ball. That's the type of offense that he's always ran. So he's got to step up and he's got to play better. And we'll see. We'll see. He's the guy I'm sitting on right now. I'm not getting rid of him. I'm on the fence with him. I'm on the fence with him right now. Next matchup we got the Colts and the Rams. Let's see can Danny Dimes keep it rolling. Can he keep it rolling? I mean, 816 yards and 3 passing TDs. Plus, he has another 3 TDs, I think, rushing. He's played great. Jonathan Taylor, 60 carries for 338 yards and 3 touchdowns. Puka, 29 catches for 333 yards. Devontae Adams has come to life the last couple weeks. Puka hasn't gotten in the end zone yet, which is insane to say. Yeah, I dropped Harvey in Denver's dude. Yeah, I mean, Harvey's a keeper in dynasty leagues. In redraft, it's a different story, right? Yeah, the no TDs for Puka is crazy. But I mean, the Colts have punted once in 3 weeks. Yeah, no TDs yet. No TDs yet for Puka, which again is crazy. Let's see here, Puka. But Indy is he has 1 rushing touchdown. Sorry guys, he has 1 rushing touchdown. He had a run week 2 against Tennessee. He ran for a 45-yard touchdown. So, but what do we got here? Is Puka the 101 season started today? I mean, he might be. He'd be pretty close. I mean, he's the sheer volumes there, right? 10 for 130, 8 for 91, 11 for 112. He's got the 1 rushing touch. He's had 1 rush each week, 1 for 1 yard, 1 for 45 yards, 1 for 6 yards. He'd be close for sure. Gibbs. I mean, Monty had a big week last week too. It's just tough because you had that first week where they didn't really do much. But yeah, the targets are there. Puka will start getting in the end zone. He will. It's just a matter of time. But I think his dominance has led to Devontae having, um, a kind of a resurrection the last couple weeks. He's had a touchdown the last 2 weeks. We had 3 catches for 56 and a touchdown last week. The week before that, 6 for 106 and a touchdown. Um, he was limited. He's questionable for Sunday, dealing with a hamstring. Devontae is. Um, I mean, Jonathan Taylor's been great. You know. Let me look at something here. Let's go all players. Wide receiver, running back, tight end. Oh wait. Not projections. Where's my season total? Season total. I mean, if you're looking at like a full PPR, now JSN has an extra week, but I mean, he's got 26 catches for 402 yards right now. But again, he's got an extra week because he's already played this week. But JSN's looked great so far. James Cook, 284 yards rushing, 4 touchdowns rushing. Oh no, I'm sorry. Yeah, 4 touchdowns rushing. Decent amount of passing, and not a ton. But yeah, I mean, your top 2 guys right now are Jonathan Taylor and Puka, with James Cook shortly behind him. You also got to consider, Amon-Ra. While he's only gotten in the end zone once, and it's just the receptions, but CMC's got a ton of receptions. Rushing wise, nothing, right? 69, 55, 52, 73 yards receiving, 52, 88. But he's got 9 catches, 6 catches, and 10 catches. He's got a lot of work, right? But yeah, I mean, Jonathan Taylor's been great. Puka's been great. Amon-Ra. Um, Gibbs is up there towards the top. I'll tell you a guy that I'm actually surprised by his season so far. Rome Odunze. Rome's looked good this year so far. A touchdown every week. 6 catches, 7 catches, 3 catches last week, 37 yards, 128 yards, 62 yards last week against Dallas. Vegas gives up the second most points to receivers. Rome should have a big week, another big week this week. For sure. 100%. But I mean, in the Colts and Rams, I like Puka. If Devontae plays, I like Devontae, Kyren Williams. Blake Corum's actually hasn't been awful if you're in a deeper league. Or maybe you take a flyer on him in a DFS, you get him for pretty cheap. Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman. I love Michael Pittman this year. Danny Dimes has been great. Stafford, of course. So those are guys I like in that. Jags and 49ers. Ricky Purcell, I really like him. 16 catches for 281 yards so far this year. Travis Etienne's leading Jacksonville in rushing right now at 270 and 1 touchdown. Trevor Lawrence has been hit or miss, CMC again, it's just sheer volume and workload of the receptions is really what's saving him. I know he's loving that DJ Moore gave up on football, right? Caleb Williams, Dak, or Daniel Jones rest of the season. I'm out on Caleb. He's had a good game, really, against arguably the worst defense in the league right now. Dak, I think he's in trouble with no CD and all the injuries on that offensive line. I think, especially this week, he's in for a hurting. Now, what I think you're going to get with Dak is a lot of garbage time stuff coming up, which garbage time plays. But Daniel Jones, I mean, right now, I love Danny Dimes. I think he's on a great team. They've punted once all season so far, which is an insane stat. They had 0 punts in their first 2 weeks, and and they're not turning the ball over either. They're scoring every time they have the football, other than They punted once this last week. Yeah, garbage time counts the same on the stat sheet. Some guys, I mean, Blake Bortles, I loved Blake Bortles back in the day. For 3 quarters, he'd get you nothing. And then he'd score you 20 points in the fourth quarter because he'd rack up almost 300 yards and a couple touchdowns in garbage time when the Jags were just god awful. And teams started playing prevent defense at the beginning of the fourth quarter, which is insane. But yeah, that is one of the hardest stats to wrap my brain around so far this season is that the Colts have only punted once. That they're scoring on every drive. Every time they get the ball, they're scoring. And again, I was a big Danny Dimes fan going into the season. I thought he was going to be really good. This was a guy I liked coming out of college. The 1 year that he had really good there with the Giants was when Saquon was healthy. The year before that, Saquon was banged up and missed a lot. And then last year, you didn't have a run game. When this guy has a run game, and he's got a better offensive line. He's got some great weapons there. Tyler Warren, I think, is going to be really good. Michael Pittman, of course. Josh Downs. You've got the other kid there that just catches deep touchdowns. I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, but I've liked him. I was a Daniel Jones truther for the past 3 years. I bought his rookie card last year. Happy to see him do well. Always believed in him like I did too. And I thought him getting out of New York was great for him. I really did. And it just goes to show that they don't know what the hell they're doing there in New York. Again, I talked about it earlier for you on the show, Matt, but everyone's going back and pulling that interview that Malik Neighbors had last year, where they were asking him, what's going on with the team. He goes, it's not the quarterback. The quarterback's not the problem. It's not the quarterback. They're like, well, is it the coaching? Is it the play calling? And he just would just say, it's not the quarterback, which is him saying, yes, the coaching staff on this team is awful, and that's the problem. So I feel bad for Jackson Dart, but also, let's see what he's got. Maybe they've learned something there, especially seeing Danny Dimes doing what he's doing this year. Yeah, it's like we talked about. You just got to give them time to develop. If not, then you kill the confidence in kids. And I don't even know that it was necessarily time to develop. It was just the talent wasn't there, especially to set up a player like him for success, right? Sometimes it's not. It's about being in the right place. But it's also being on a team that believes in you, right? Let's look at Jared Goff. If you look at all the stats for the last 3 years, he's the best quarterback in the league in the last 3 years. Go and look at the stats. Passing, completion percentage, touchdowns, yards. Like, go and look at the numbers for the last 3 years. Jared Goff is the best quarterback in the league. Now, we've had a couple problems the last couple playoffs, right? Last year, I don't necessarily put that on him as much as half of their defense began the year at Home Depot, right? There's just so many injuries there. If Detroit doesn't go through all those injuries on the defense last year, I'd love to see what they would have done. But yeah, I mean, look at Geno, right? Geno gets out of New York Jets, but gets out of there after he gets knocked out for being a bad teammate. But that's besides the point. Darnold, again, out of New York. Mayfield just Browns fans and Browns ownership and all that has to be kicking themselves. And I never understood why they gave up on him when they did. Because he's the only guy to take. He's the first guy to take him to the playoffs in like 9,000 years, right? I never understood that, and I never got that. I thought that was a horrible mistake when they went ahead and traded for Watson and gave him that absurd contract and just gave up so much to get him. When you had your guy there, you had him. You had Baker, and you let him go. And when he landed in Tampa, I was like, game over, man. Game over. Because he's just going to – and he's taking his game to another level, but it's also the talent there. I'm waiting for Wilson to take over for 2, and Miami is going to the Super Bowl. Not with Wilson. You talking about Zach Wilson? I'm talking about Zach Wilson. We're not talking about Russell Wilson. I don't know what you're talking about, man. Zach Wilson ain't that guy. Zach Wilson ain't that guy. Uh, yeah, nah. When I heard Wilson was seeing Ghost, it was a rat for the kid. Yeah, Wilson ain't that guy. Um, I don't think Zach Wilson ever was going to be that guy. I definitely feel like, yeah, he had a bad rap, but with Wilson, I think it's more so just he's just not that. You had the issues with him when he was on that Jets team that had a great defense, and he's like, they can't do anything offensively. He's like, that's not our fault. What do you mean it's not your fault? He had nothing to apologize, nothing to say, just throwing his defense under the bus. He just that guy. He's never had it between the ears. I don't think. Um, and you heard it like when he got drafted. I think they traded up for him. And it was like, what are they doing? What are they doing? I don't think Zach Wilson's going to be one of those guys. Like I never saw the intangibles there. Like Darnold's always had the arm, right, and been able to make be able to just make those throws. Um, Gino, I guess you could almost kind of compare him a little bit to Gino, but yeah, because I mean Gino didn't seem to kind of be there between the ears. He's getting in fights with his teammates and getting knocked out over stupid stuff. But yeah, I don't know that Zach. I don't. Does Zach take over if Tua goes down, or do they go to Quinn? I'd almost rather go to Quinn Ewers. 1-2 Chiefs and 1-2 Ravens. Crazy. One of these teams is going to be 1-3. That is insane. Um, I mean, Ravens. Honestly, the Ravens should be 2-1 right now. They should not have lost that game against Buffalo. They just should not have. The Chiefs going 1-2. Not as surprised. I think the Chiefs the last few years have been on a downward trend. Um, and I think again, I think it kind of continues this year. I honestly feel like there's a chance they could miss the playoffs this year, which is crazy to say that. But Travis Kelsey's not that guy anymore. Um, Now they do get Xavier Worthy back this week, which will definitely help. I think Hollywood's been pretty good, but the run game hasn't been there. You know, I think they need to reload a little bit offensively. A lot of people are throwing a lot of stock into, oh, just wait till Rashee Rice gets back, but I don't know. Like Rashee Rice hasn't played football in a long time, and he had a small sample size of being good last couple games of the season in the playoffs, but it's about it. That game is in. Where's it at? Yeah, it's in Kansas City. I'm going to take the Ravens in that game, though. I just feel like the Ravens are a better team. Now the Ravens are missing some good guys, some of their top players defensively. They really are. Um, I just don't believe in Kansas City right now. I really don't. Um, but yeah, one of those two teams is going to be 1-3. The spread is 2.5. 2.5. The Chiefs are getting 2.5 at home. If Henry gets stopped, which he could, this might be the season Henry's decline finally. I mean, maybe. I mean, he had until the fumble. He was awesome in week 1. Last week, Detroit they were just playing lights out. Like that game was the score was not indicative of how badly Detroit whooped their ass. Honestly, uh, that was just a pounding that Detroit gave them. Lamar running for his life. I mean, it wasn't for the fact that Lamar made some amazing plays. It's a 30-point game, you know. But Lamar he does what Lamar does and made some amazing plays that led to some really good stuff, right? But yeah, I just don't believe in Kansas City right now. Um, I think last year they got by a lot, and a lot with a lot of help from the refs. Um, that kind of helped them in a lot of games, kind of nudge the scales their way, right? They're not getting those calls this year. And again, I don't know. I just don't see it with them. Like they just look off. And I think they need to reload offensively. I think they need to really invest it. You got to see what happens with Rice when he gets back, right? And if Rice ends up being that guy, cool. Cool. Rice actually went to now we didn't go at the same time, but he graduated from the same high school I went to. The high school right down the road from where I live right now. Um, I know some people that played with him. I mean, in high school he wasn't that great. He was okay. Went to SMU and was okay. It's not like he was a high pick, but then you throw him on a team where he's got uh, Pat Mahomes throwing to him. Obviously, you're going to be better, but we'll just have to see if Rice can be that guy. Um, Worthy's got to stay healthy. He's got Travis Kelce taking him out. You know, but yeah, I don't know. I just haven't seen it from Kansas City. I didn't feel like they were that great last year, and I really feel like they just kind of skated by. And those games these really close games that last year they pulled out the last second, they're not doing it this year. They just haven't so far. But yeah, if I'm a gambling man, which I am, my money's on Baltimore. I'm taking Baltimore. And I'm taking Baltimore, and yeah, I'll give you the points, the 2.5. Give me Baltimore by like 6. Pick one. Chase Brown, Golden, or Pittman. Um, Chase Brown's in my doghouse. He's on my shit list. Um, I don't like Chase Brown until he does something. Like the Bengals team has been so bad, and Chase Brown's been so bad, and I had high expectations for him this year. Insanely high expectations for him this year. He was my RB1 going into this year. I really felt like he was going to be the number one RB this year. And I had Bijan 2 and Gibbs 3. Um, until they can show me something, I don't like them. I really like Golden this week against that Dallas defense. Golden could get you like close to 200 yards with 3 or 4 catches, right? That O line but the O line's always been bad there, Michael. The O line in Baltimore, in Cincinnati has always been awful. But they found a way to work around it. This year. They just haven't been able to. Yeah. I like Golden this week. I like Golden for a couple 40+ yard receptions. Probably taken to the house a couple times against that Dallas defense. Michael Pittman, I love him. If you're talking like a PPR thing, I think Pittman gets you 6 or 7 catches and close to 100 yards and maybe a touchdown. Matthew Golden's going to have you 3 or 4 catches, over 100 yards, 1 or 2 touchdowns. Chase Brown just pains me to say it, but he's on my shit list right now. Until otherwise, I just can't. I would play Golden or Pittman over him this week if you're talking like a flex position, right? Yeah, I saw that stat they put up with him, and look, shit is that. Yeah. Um, if you're in a league that gets you extra points for 40+ yard receptions, that definitely helps you. Do I want to go with again with Golden? Here's my prediction for it. It just depends on your scoring with your league be growing. Like I said, Golden's going to get you 3 to 4 catches, over 100 yards, 1 to 2 touchdowns. Michael Pittman's going to get you 6 to 8 catches, close to 100 yards, and probably a touchdown. So depends on your scoring. That's kind of my predictions for what they're going to put up stat line wise. Again, if you're in a league where you're getting extra points for 40+ yard receptions, that's definitely going to help you. Some leagues give you rewards for 40+ yard receptions plus 40+ yard touchdowns, so you can kind of stack some points there. Again, just depending on what your league is getting you. But that's what I'm going to expect out of Golden this week. Any thoughts on who I could trade JMO for another wide receiver after he has a good week? I mean, it just depends on the people in your league. You got a Lions fan in your league, you might be able to get a little bit more out of him versus someone who's not a Lions fan, right? A lot of it has to do with who's in your league and knowing who's in your league. But I definitely think trading JMO away could definitely help you out and diversify your lineup some because you've already got Amon-Ra, right? And so you got to hope that both of them have good games every week, which is highly possible. Again, they are the only teammates in the league to have over 1,000 yards receiving last year. JMO did it on not a ton of receptions. I expect him to catch more balls this year. He's been okay this year. But I would definitely look at moving him. Again, it just depends on your league mates and who you got there. You got a QB like that and you don't get enough sense to protect him. No, they don't. They don't. The Bengals are just awful on you. Yeah. I feel on C. Brown. I feel Golden is upside at yes. Yes. Golden, I think, has a higher ceiling this week. Pittman's a safe baseline. 100%. 100. Yeah. Yep. I agree on that 100%. Because hell, Golden can have 4 catches of like 30 yards or more, and them all be touchdowns. Like, let's just be honest. Now I think the Cowboys are possibly getting Deron Bland back, and Diggs is another week healthier. But if you can't get pressure on the quarterback, it's a problem, right? It's going to be a problem. But Pittman again, yeah, that's 100% the best way to say it. I think Golden has a ton of upside this week. I think Pittman's a safe baseline. Let's see here. My friend's strategy is starting Ladd and Keenan this year. He calls himself the baseline king. I kind of like that strategy for yeah. Except for I think you with JMO and Amon-Ra, you've got a higher upside with Amon than you do with Keenan and Ladd, right? I think Amon-Ra he's got a 3 touchdown game in there, but hey, that's part of it, right? He's top 5 fantasy player right now. Amon-Ra is in your PPR formats. But yeah, the only problem with that is if you have a week like the Lions did in week 1, right? But I mean, as of right now, I wouldn't mind playing Ladd and Keenan and JMO and Amon-Ra. Yeah, I mean, I don't see any issues there. And again, I expect Detroit's offense just to have another great year this year. And I think you're going to have, I think JMO could have 1,200 yards this year, 1,300 yards, and Amon-Ra is going to he's going to probably get you another 17, 18. So you're looking at probably maybe a combined 3,000 yards out of those two and 20 tutties between the two, which that's pretty damn good. 3,000 yards and 20 tutties between those two guys. I think that's a pretty fair assessment of what they're capable of this year. 100%. I just sometimes again nervous about stacking too because again, yeah, you're looking at their numbers combined, right? But if you got a guy like Amon-Ra who's going to produce a lot more than JMO, I think you're looking at like a scale like this to this, right? And if you can get a guy for JMO that's got a little bit of a higher ceiling, cool. But yeah, again, it's a good strategy. Again, I think you're getting 3,000 yards and 20 TDs out of the two of those guys. And if you told me you had two receivers you're going to play all year and that's what you're going to get from them, regardless of what the names are, you would like that, right? If you can get that out of two of your receivers on your lineup, you definitely like it. And I definitely think there'll be some weeks where JMO outproduces Amon-Ra because he's going to have those big plays, right? A lot of the big plays, and Amon-Ra is going to have those weeks where he's going to do the dirty work, right? Amon-Ra does your dirty work for you. He'll do your dirty work. He'll do your deep stuff. He can do it all. But I think he kind of thrives in that dirty work. I really feel like he does, because he's just that type of a player that let's get in there. He's tough as nails. He's got that in him for sure. And JMO is your big plays, stretching the field, catching some big ones. There's been a couple plays that they've just missed on this year, and they'll fix that. They will definitely fix that. So, yeah. It's a good strategy. I mean, I like it. But I'm more nervous about Ladd and Keenan combo because you need Keenan to stay healthy. And that could be an issue because, again, he's just getting older. And is he going to be able to keep up this pace? So far through 3 weeks, yes. But it's 3 weeks. Last year after week 3, Saints were a Super Bowl contender. And then they finished as one of the worst teams in the league. So. All right, guys. Any other questions? If not, I need to get out of here. I am going to go through like I normally do. Give you winners and losers games. Just kind of power through it. Vikings and Steelers. Give me the Vikings. Commanders and Falcons. Commanders. Saints and Bills. The Bills. Browns and Lions. The Lions. Panthers and Patriots. Give me the Pats to win that one. Chargers and Giants. Chargers. Eagles and Bucks is going to be a really damn good game. This one's tough for me to pick. Give me the Eagles in a hard-fought game. Maybe Saquon has a monster game. Titans and Texans. Someone's got to get a win there. Give me the Texans to do it. CJ Stroud needs to step up and just play better, right? Someone posted some numbers that I saw somewhere where if you look at his numbers and Anthony Richardson, they're not too far off. But obviously, I feel way better about Stroud than I do Anthony Richardson. Colts and Rams. Let's keep the train rolling with the Colts. Colts go 3-0 or 4-0. Danny Dimes continues his triumphant return. Jags and the 49ers. 49ers are going to be the worst 4-0 team in the league. Ravens and Chiefs. Give me the Ravens. Bears and the Raiders. God, that one's tough. Give me the Raiders. Packers and Cowboys. The Packers. And then on Monday night, we got the doubleheader Monday night. The Jets and the Dolphins. Give me they're both winless. Give me the Dolphins to finally get a win. And the Bengals and the Broncos. Give me the Broncos. Broncos to go ahead and go 500. Matt, thank you, man. It's been fun. I'm here every Saturday night, typically between 10 and 11 o'clock. I'm here, Central Standard Time tonight, a little bit later. And then we also do a live show on Thursdays around 6 p.m. Central Time, just before the Thursday night game kicks off. W's for everyone, Mr. Lopez. That's right. Let's get those dubs. Salute you guys. Again, I will also post a short after this for any last-minute start-sit questions, anything that you guys got, or if you didn't get a chance to come in and watch the live, you can post your questions on the short, whatever you got. We're here for you guys. Let's get those dubs. As always, I'm Alan. I'll talk to you guys later.